Alright, let's get loaded up, right? See if we can finish this thing up. Where we started this afternoon. Let's see, I think I grabbed 40% with the marker. Good evening, happy Saturday, everybody. Let's see, anything worth putting on here? Nope. How are we doing out there? Any questions, comments I can answer while I'm getting warmed up? Alright, music it is. Alright. Got a sleepy dog under my feet. The drawing did touch up, so I think we'll go with that. All sounds like good options to me. And I think I'll finish this up and do some studies of potential close-ups of this. Zip in tight on some of these reference photos for some thoughts. Maybe pair up a couple things. Minimum shadow value, right? Good evening. How are we doing out there? That feels better. Thought there was a 10%er around here somewhere. 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100. Hey, Sleepy. Good evening, everybody coming in. Just dealing with a moderately sad dog. He forgot that the world can be a cruel place from time to time. Happens once in a while, right? Alright, that's working now. Or it was. There you go. Yeah, it's working. That's a song I haven't heard in a while. Good evening. Thanks for popping in. Anybody doing anything interesting? Got a nice little view here, right, of the Bramble World Colony. Good evening. How we doing out there? It's partially reference, partially out of my head. This is based off of a photograph of some turkey tail fungus I took a picture of in the woods. This area right here. The log actually goes straight up and down, but I just thought it'd be more interesting to put it on its side. But kind of mixing that with this idea, the Bramble World project, if you're not familiar with it, is this idea where I've got this concept project I've been doing for the last while where humans have settled on this other world. I'm kind of imagining a world where it's like plant punk. I'm sure there's something maybe similar to something called solar punk, which wasn't something I was familiar with. But the idea is they've landed on this planet and they can't leave as a colony, but they have harnessed the local plant life to kind of lead a relatively comfortable life. They can't leave, but they can use it to get enough energy to run a city, but not leave the planet kind of thing. So I've been trying to think about developing this city. So I've got some sketches in here. The ones I've done in the past, but most recent ones are these ones here, where kind of what if it was from the colony ship, and then the initial idea about the them building into these structures, and then I was looking through some of my reference for that. So I think sometimes it's a good idea to start your initial sketch with that reference, so you have some kind of idea about what you're doing, and then that'll tell you what you need. And I have a bunch of references I've collected anyway, I've looked at before, but sometimes I'll start just by putting down the general idea and then go back in and say, okay, what am I missing? And grab some reference for it. So, yeah, I've got that up over there on my iPad. I can see it. And I don't want to bump my dog's head. And I have a moderately sad dog tonight, so hopefully he will recover in the morning. We'll see how he handles his morning W. Stepped on a piece of glass this morning, cut his pad, so he's been sad about that all day, which it hurts. We started going for a W this evening. He was excited to get out there, and then within like a block and a half he was hurting. He was trying to go to other people's houses, like trying to go into their doors. I'm like, no, we gotta go to our house, buddy. They won't let us in. So, oh yeah, I'll have to check him out sometime. But yeah, so that's kind of the intent of the project. So I've been doing these different explorations and thinking about how that would work. Because I have this larger story I want to tell, but at the same time I've been like, well, I'm a little bit worried that maybe trying to do too much in that. So I was thinking about options for some shorter stories related to the characters. So I've been thinking about turning this into some kind of maybe a graphic novel or something like that, or a series of comics or something. So that would help to have a little more practice with something that's a little bit simpler. Yeah. Yeah, just a quick little rough sketchy thing here. Getting some good contrast between the foreground and kind of the middle slash background. There's a general kind of compositional principle, right? To have like your foreground help you frame your subject. The one we were talking about recently in my classes. So usually you have some kind of action in the middle. So this is maybe the deep background over here. Or maybe the wall here could be considered part of the background. And but you kind of use that to help frame your scene, and then it kind of makes it more dynamic because you have to look past these things. So it's a principle called repoussoir. So I guess that's the French word. Probably saying it wrong. Sorry for saying French people here. But it's a word that means push back, I guess. And the idea is you kind of put something in the foreground, and then that pushes the composition back, so it makes it feel like it has more depth. So if you go look at like Chardin, repoussoir, it's like repoiseur or something is how it's spelled, I think. Repoussoir. But I don't speak French, so non parle français, en français. And I'm not sad about that. But it's a design principle. It's pretty handy to use kind of to frame your scene. You know, whether you're drawing from observation or making up your own compositions, it just helps to kind of set it up so that, you know, you've got some kind of strong foreground element that frames whatever it is you've got as your focal point. So my focal point is the city back here. Maybe the focal point is really this tower thing here. These towers. But yeah, people like Chardin use it. Lots of people use it. You know, any of the genre painters used it a lot to help kind of set up better compositions for themselves. So they put like a pot on the floor in the front or something like that. American illustrators definitely in the early 20th century, late 19th century, they employed it a lot in their illustrations to kind of set up more interesting scenes. But and we were talking about it recently in my drawing class, so yeah, but if you look around a lot of illustrations, you'll see that they'll create some kind of foreground that frames the action or the subject in the midground. and then they'll use the background to also frame that action. We look at like N.C. Wyeth or Howard Pyle or Dean Cornwell or Harvey Dunn, any of these early American illustrators. That's what they, it was a very common technique among them. And those illustrators you're not familiar with, you should probably be familiar with them. Hello over there on Kick. Definitely worth checking. They're worth checking out. I was at the one of the museums here in the U.S. that's kind of dedicated to those illustrators. The Delaware Art Museum. They had really changed things up since I was there last. Like they went full feminism on these illustrators who've been dead for 80 years, 90 years. It's like all this stuff was talking about how other people didn't feel seen in their illustrations. It's just like, I don't know, these were like pirate stories and cowboy stories. A bunch of other stuff, and it's like all the signs are like, well, these women illustrators today don't feel seen by these people in the past. I'm like, well, you weren't born yet. So what am I drawing over here? This is a larger project I've been working on. If you've been following around at all, called Bramble, and anyway, this is an idea for the city. That the colonists have settled at on the planet Bramble. So this planet looks like it's a giant plant, basically all tangled up, or a bunch of plants all tangled up and knotted together, floating around, the planet, the sun, in that star system. And humans settle on it. They can't leave, but they do learn to kind of use the plant materials there as a technology, and they develop a city living on one of those tangled, twisting brambles. So that's what the subject here is. So I thought I'd do a sketch of the city. Had an idea. I've got some reference up here from some past photographs I've taken of turkey tail fungus, and so it's kind of based off of that. So there you are up there. Different view though. Where's the other view of it? There it is. That's not you. It's not you. Maybe it's just one of those two. Guess it was just you, huh? But so that's what we're drawing, this environment design. And then I think I'm mostly done with it, so I think on the side I'm going to do some larger versions of some of this stuff. See what I can come up with. Let's pull this paper. Let's see, iPad back. Hit the back, iPad. Not too far. There we go. I have my limits now. magnets. Keep things from falling over. Let me back out a little bit. There we go. That way, kind of keep them all in view. Yeah, but it was worth checking out the museum. It was just weird how much they'd adjusted their focus from celebrating these artists to criticizing them. It's interesting because, like, the leader of the movement, Howard Pyle, he some of the most successful women illustrators of his time, late 19th century, early 20th century, were educated by him. But guess we have to hate him now. For some reason. Okay, he brought them into his little school and taught them how to do things. Alright, let's get closer up on these buildings here. Let's apply some of this bark over here. Probably cut it off over there. We can drop a line. Where's my triangle? So I got my fancy new Muji ruler I'm very excited about. Magnet over there. And I finished watching a pretty terrible movie today too. Anyone watch that Trench movie on Apple TV? It's not very good. Has a good premise, I think, inside of it somewhere, but that execution was something to behold. Trench, I think it's called The Trench. It has Anya Taylor-Joy. She's a sniper. And I forget who the other guy, the guy actor in it is. Sigourney Weaver is in it a little bit. I probably paid her for an afternoon of hanging out. Yeah, it was there's some kind of interesting visual stuff in it, I guess, but yeah, it was not it's not very good. They had the whole date scene in it. I just kind of skipped through that. It was really there was some serious simping going on in there. And it was just like, it gave me a headache how bad it was. But, yeah, well, I did it in 2 sessions, so I watched part of it the other day, and then I was like, well, we'll see how it goes. Maybe maybe the creatures at least look interesting. I had some interesting, creature designs, some practical stuff in there, a lot of, some pretty bad CGI at moments. Like, they had these drones flying around, and they looked, you'd think that would be the easy stuff to make look good or something. But, it looked really, really bad. There's this scene where you tell it was just like, nothing here is real. Unnecessarily so. Yeah, the idea is these 2 people have been sent in to guard this canyon in the mountains somewhere in the northern hemisphere. They don't know where it is exactly. And what they don't know is that neither of them are planned to come out alive. So they swap people out every year, and they bring in the replacement. The replacement gets briefed by the person that's there. The person leaves, and the person that leaves gets immediately killed by the people picking him up. And but they don't know that, when they're signing up for this mission. So it's a suicide mission. But there's this trench there, and it's been there for at least since World War II, or around that time period. And this nice British guy, they just shoot him in the head as they're lifting him up to the helicopter. Very abruptly. But anyway, there's this trench down there, and they're just supposed to watch it. But of course, they've got Anya Taylor-Joy on one side and a very lonely guy on the other side. So that leads to one thing leads to another, right? And then after their initial hookup, he heads back across the trench and he falls in, which you see in the commercial. And he encounters the inhabitants in the trench, and they fought them before early on. So there's these guns up on the top of the trench that are there to shoot down things, and there's bombs and other things to kind of prevent anything from escaping. And so he falls in, and she immediately jumps in after him. Apparently she has a parachute. They all have parachutes for some reason. And they both jump in. I'm not sure why you would give them a parachute, because they're not supposed to go in the trench, right? But they all got parachutes at their little bases. And they jump in. They meet the inhabitants, and the inhabitants are a bunch of mutated soldiers and scientists that were working on some special projects in the trench. And they had some interesting kind of creature designs. People are kind of merging with plants and other animals, and some of it was okay. A lot of it was not, but some of it was kind of interesting. I guess they'd all lost their humanity in the process, because they were all screaming like crazy monsters at them. But yeah, it wasn't very good. It's some of the creatures I think are interesting to look at. Then they eventually get out. They're worried about being contaminated because they see what happens to people. They find some documents in there that show kind of what's happened to people, and they make some discoveries that they're not really working for the government, but they're looking for these military research people. It's just this stuff wasn't very good. I was like, well, yeah, let's see how it goes. I kind of skipped through some of it, fast forwarded a little bit. And then, so the people that sent them there realize after they do their monthly call-in, check-in with them, that they've been compromised. And so they go in to go kill off their sentinels, and the people that are the sentinels discover that there's a nuke in the trench set to go off if something bad happens. So if something starts to escape, or the defenses fail, or something like that. So they set it up to go off by removing some of the safeties that are around the trench as the people arrive to come kill them. And so they set off a nuke and blow up the trench and escape. And looks like the guy might have died, and the girl was worried she was going to be infected, but it turns out they're both fine, and they meet each other at a nice little cafe in France. The end. And then they break up, 2 months later or something. Not really a recommend. I mean, some of the creature stuff was interesting, but beyond that, it was, nothing I would ever recommend to anybody. So, you know. But yeah, I watched The Menu the other day too, which also has Anya Taylor-Joy. So I thought, yeah, maybe it won't be so bad. Yeah, maybe if you're like you've had, you're like 2 or 3 glasses into some Malbec or something. Um, but chowder, I don't know if chowder. Um, but um, yeah, The Menu. So the menu's about this like super exclusive restaurant. It's like $12,000 a person to go. They make their own food on this island. It's from this very important chef who's internationally known, and these people like pay a very special price to come, and he feeds them what he feeds them. It's a very kind of unique experience. He's been doing it for years and years. Um, and he anyway, as the show progresses, Annie Taylor-Joy, she's there, but turns out she's like a prostitute or something. So she's been hired to be like this guy's date for the dinner because his original date couldn't make it or broke up with him or whatever it was. And yeah, Anya Taylor-Joy. She has really wide eyes. There's a lot of these like wide eyes that are really far apart. Actresses like that Snow White girl, and even that girl from the Last of Us. Like, there's a lot of people with like eyes that are really far apart for some reason, or look that way anyway in the shows. But yeah, Anya, Anushka. Um, it's definitely a look. I guess maybe they liked it with a few people or 1 or 2 people. So like, let's make them all that way. So they went into their Hollywood clone machine and put out a bunch of them. But yeah. But anyway, they show up at this restaurant and they're brought in by boat, and it's a very exclusive experience. They're going through their meal, and then things start to go a little bit strange. So you have like special moments when he's presenting, and it's like, and it reveals something very personal about the guest or guests, or people that are there, like people that shouldn't be there together, kind of thing. And anyway, as it progresses, it turns out really the chef is there to murder all these people. These are people that have wronged him in his life, or had control over him, or manipulated him, or not appreciated his work. And he's there to kill all of them, and commit suicide with all of his chefs. So no one is leaving this place alive. I suppose people really liked it, so I thought I'd give it a watch. I thought it was okay. But it's kind of like, it was a little moralistic for my taste. So basically, what he's doing is like completely insane. Like, I would be nice if there was like more justification to it than like he had some controlling investors or something like that, right? Or just one of the groups of people is these like controlling investors, and another one's like a guy who's eaten at his place more than any other person, but can't name any of the dishes he's been served. And then a number of other people. One of them, he doesn't even care who she is or what she's doing. He's just going to kill her anyway with everybody else. But yeah, but she kind of escapes by. Let's see, am I covering up with that over there? No, it doesn't. Seems like it's okay. She escapes by There's a point in the film where she goes back to get something, and she sees a picture of him as a young, wide-eyed little cook chef at a diner making hamburgers, and so she orders a hamburger to go as her request for a meal because she says she doesn't like anything she's been served, like she's still hungry, and so he asks her what she wants, and she wants a hamburger to go, and that's how she gets out. And then he kills everybody by lighting them up with makes he says the crassest, lowest dessert, which is the what's it called? I forgot. It's a campfire thing. You put marshmallows and chocolate inside of graham crackers. I can't remember what it's called suddenly. But he wraps like marshmallows around their necks and then lights them all on fire, including himself, and then blows up the restaurant. I don't know. It got really good critical reviews, but I just thought it was kind of silly. It's like, it seems like there'd be better ways of getting revenge on these people, more creative ones, rather than, suppose this guy's an artist, right? Seems like rather a blunt approach to solving his problems with these people. It seems like there'd be a better, more interesting option. And just like, if you think about the Count of Monte Cristo. Count de Monte Cristo. That guy was way better at revenge. Certainly more righteously enraged by those that had wronged him than some, chef who didn't like people. But people had recommended it, so I wanted to check it out, and I think it was on Max or something like that, so I pulled it up. But I think if you look at Count of Monte Cristo, and that's a guy who knows how to get revenge, in a elegant and cruel way to tear down people who had destroyed him and his father and betrayed him and his family. And you don't have to be that good, but something better than what I think we got with the menu. However, I can 100% recommend Common Side Effects over on Max, and what's it called? Succession. It's been really not Succession. Severance. I did try watching Succession. I didn't get why people liked it. It's like none of these characters care about what they're doing. Like, it doesn't have to be that what they want is important. It just has to be important to them. Severance. Have you seen Severance? People love it. It's about these people that their job is to they get this implant in their brain. It's on Apple TV. They get this implant in their brain, and basically it activates like another personality inside of them, and they go to work that way. So basically you walk into work and you're a different person as soon as you go in the elevator and go downstairs, and then when you come back out again, it's almost as if you had never left. You just go home and you've done your day of work, but you have no memory of doing your work. And it's really good. It's filmed really, really simply. So because the setting is very simple, it's just an office for the most part. They show the outside world some, but for the most part, everything's happening inside these offices, and they're very basic, simple places. But they got some really interesting characters, and you find out who these people are on the inside versus the outside. Just almost stepped on my dog's neck. People really like it. My students are really into it. So it's a topic of conversation in class. And I found out I had like a free Apple TV membership through my phone company. So I was like, oh, I'll check it out now that I've got this, I think it would have been worth paying for the regular price. Alright, let's pull up some city stuff here. Not you. How about some... I got some Naples around here somewhere. It's a little out of order in my distribution here. I should fix this up, I guess, sometime. Not you. Not you. Where's the city shots I'm looking for here? There we go. Yeah, so yeah, Severance definitely highly recommended if you haven't seen it. It's a little too big. I think it lives up to the hype. Did see some people ripping on it, like, this is a 90 IQ show for people who think they're 130 or something like that. I'm like, well, it's a really solid show. It makes sense. It has like an interesting kind of science fiction context. It's aesthetically really nice, and the characters are interesting. It feels like what the characters are doing matters to those characters. It's produced by Ben Stiller, of all people. So, the actor. And which is interesting in a lot of ways. Just wouldn't be the kind of thing I think he would... it never struck me as someone who's like smartly into film or anything, but I guess he found the right story to work with. And alright, where's a ruler? So I need some straight lines in here. Play off of. Not that I'll leave them necessarily all straight, but seems pretty straight. Yeah, so definitely recommending it. My students really like it. They do like fans. One of them actually, she got retweeted by the actress in the show. I forget her name. She plays a character named Helly. But she did like this fan art illustration that got retweeted by the actress, which was kind of fun for her. So that's cool. You'll see her pop into the stream once in a while for like very briefly. Like, oh, the teacher's doing something. Run away. I get it. Teachers are not cool. got over it a long time ago. Not that cool. But yeah, definitely recommend that one. It's been pretty good. And again, Common Side Effects is pretty fantastic too. Just got renewed for a second season. So it's done by the same people that did Scavenger's Reign. Style's a little bit similar but different. They have like these weird kind of big-headed people in it. But it's about a guy who discovers a panacea, so a medicine that cures all illnesses. Up to the point where you're dead, basically. Excuse me. And anyway, the pharmaceutical companies don't want him to put that out there, obviously, because it would ruin their business. And so he goes on the run. He's being hunted by the FBI, who doesn't know why they're hunting him. They think he's something he's not. And then anyway, chaos ensues, and he's trying to figure out how to grow this plant that's this special drug. And while he's also kind of on the run. And there's mixed conflict between different people that want different things. Like an old friend of his who happens to work for the pharmaceutical company, she thinks that it might be her key to becoming, more, having a lot more money and power at this company, and she doesn't realize her company doesn't want it to happen. And then there's other herbalist types that he knows, and they kind of want it for themselves because they want to control it. And so there's a whole host of kind of varying, conflicting elements, and he just wants it to be for everybody, kind of person. And he's running around with his pet tortoise, Socrates, trying to figure out the secret of the mushroom that he's discovered and evade capture. And so he can do the things he wants to do. I think we're not running out of ledges to get a little squishy down there. That one's been really good. I think there's one more episode. I think the final season finale is tomorrow. So looking forward to that. As much as I complain about all the bad media out there, like that Trent show, a lot of really good stuff. You have to be kind of selective. I kind of suspected the Trent show wasn't going to be very good, but I was like, well, that's an interesting premise. Maybe it'll be okay. And it was not. But I will, I think, somehow live in spite of that. I think. Hopefully nothing permanent will happen. Like I finally saw that Alien Romulus movie, and I forgot they used AI now. Otherwise, I probably would have skipped it. And it wasn't very good either. It was fine, pretty mediocre. It was more of like a show like, what if there's a bunch of things? Then they're kind of saying that all these kids are in the show, they're all like young 18, 20-year-old teenagers are trying to escape this work planet. And none of them look like they've worked a day in their life, as far as I can tell. So yeah, they used it. Where they've said they've used it is so they brought back the android from the first movie, and so the actor who's played him It's not the same android, but it's like an identical model of that android. And it's pointless that they did too, so that there wasn't any reason to actually use this actor and his likeness. But they brought back there's this actor's likeness from the first movie, who plays the android that betrays them, and which was controversial. It wasn't known that they were going to do that when the movie was initially advertised, and but he's a scientist on this space station that's about to crash into the planet, and he he's kind of messed up on the ship, and so they bring him in as the actor. Apparently, they used AI to kind of modify his face. Apparently, it looked really bad in the theaters, it looked really really fake, and they updated it for the release on DVD and digital. It was like $10 on Apple. I was like, oh, I was curious about this movie, so I'll watch it. And then I forgot about that, and I was watching like, oh yeah, that guy. They brought him back, and again, there was like no reason to do it. Like it could have just been some other android. It didn't have to be him. Like he's not in any of the other movies, right? It's not like he's a recurring character like, say, David was in the Prometheus movie and the other one after it. So a lot of people were kind of freaked out that they made that particular choice. So, yeah, it's just stupid. The movie, again, like, for me, like, I watch it, I'm like, I see that kind of in a lot of movies where it doesn't look, to me at least, doesn't look like the actors like fit their roles. So the story is, they're working on this planet for the, what's it called, the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, and that's kind of the premise of the show, is that they're all working, in these mines, and they're working long, hard, grueling days in order to get their kind of freedom to leave the planet, fill their contract or whatever, get their pay, so they can leave. And kind of like an indentured servitude kind of situation. But to me, I'm watching them like they don't look like they're not doing well. They don't look like they're starving. They're a little bit dirty, like they smudged some dirt on their faces. There was a shot where they're hanging around. There's like a fire in a barrel for some reason. Like I don't understand why. It's just like it was just there. It's like there's a fire in this barrel while we're sitting around talking. I'm like, well, I mean, are they cold? They don't look cold. Are they using standard barrels and things, in this future world, or, kind of what's the, why is there a barrel with fire inside of it? Is there a homeless camp around nearby? I don't know. But again, for me, like I watched them, like I remember, I just seen a lot of movies where like they want to have these younger actors in there, but they don't really have them do anything to prepare for the kind of role they're in. They don't work out, they don't lose weight or gain weight, or look bedraggled or whatever. And kind of historically, actors would do a lot to kind of morph their bodies or something. But yeah, they just didn't seem like people who had been working, their entire, lives since they were small children or, teenagers or whatever, with their parents or something. They just seemed like kids they'd pulled off of a college campus and said, "Hey, be in this movie." And they're like, "Okay, sounds cool," Yeah, they need to ask me how to make movies. Obviously. Yeah, they need to start getting my permission on how to do everything. Clearly, clearly they need the help. Yeah, but I can't see that in a lot of shows where they're not really prepping for the role. And read about actors, they go to insane lengths like become the character or get into the role or research it, and it often makes a really big difference for the film's quality. Get in shape or lose weight dramatically. I forget what actor it is. He'll change his physique quite dramatically for all of his roles. Lose a ton of weight or gain it. Um, Work really hard or get a job, in that kind of area or something like that. Research the role. Yeah, Christian Bale is probably who I'm thinking of. He and that other guy who played, what's his name? He was in Let There Be Blood. I think he played Abraham Lincoln in a movie. He does that too. Goes to pretty extreme lengths. Or even girl from the first and second Terminator. Well, the Terminator movie girl. What's her face? Linda Hamilton. She played regular girl in the first one. And then she got super ripped for the second one because the story of her character was, she'd spent several years in hiding, preparing for the end of the world. And she got super ripped for that part. Crazy muscles. She's very famous for. And then they had her kind of in that sequel a couple years ago. And the girl who was supposed to be the new savior of humanity was she looked like she was a really soft 18-year-old little girl or something. Yeah, go look at pictures of Linda Hamilton from Terminator 2. Look it up on Google. She was seriously low body fat, super ripped, crazy arm muscles for. She's not very big either. She's a little lady, and but she got she looks like it looks like combat muscles. It doesn't look like gym muscles. Which is kind of what made it interesting. It's like someone who was in prison, working out in the cell doing calisthenics, body weight exercises and things. Not your typical situation. Yeah, so people, actors that do that because they really get into those roles, and that was a huge movie, Terminator 2. He had big shoes to fill after the first one. A lot of expectations from his first version. But definitely look her up. Linda Hamilton. She actually even got in shape for that movie she did, that relatively recent one. She's 68 or 70 or whatever, and she was looking pretty muscular for the that one she was in more recently. Yeah, that one, they open the movie up with her son getting killed. So the Terminator just shows up while they're sitting on a beach, and he kills her. And somebody sleeping on the floor. I hear a doggy squeak. Yep, he's sleeping. He's having a dream. I have a little dream down there. Just a little dream for a little dog. He gets into it, his whole body will shake. He's just totally out of it. He's just sleeping really hard. Yeah, it's funny when he does that. Just little woofs. Let's see, you. Oh, there you. Wow, he's really into it. He had a stressful day though today, so I poked his foot and stepped on a piece of glass and cut the pad on his paw. And I think it's the same foot where he broke his nail last summer. And so, little blood coming out of it. I could tell he was hurting. We were on our way home, just after. We weren't very far from home when it happened, but he tried to do our little walk this evening. We didn't get very far, and he was trying to get into other people's houses. Like we were walk past doors and try to go into their doors. I was like, uh-oh. Because it seemed like he was fine after a while. Like he spent 2 hours outside in the yard having a good, nice bath in the sun. Doing some sniffing outside. And he seemed pretty happy. So I was like, oh, I'll go for a walk. And we get about a block and a half, and he's panicking. I can tell he's not feeling good. He wasn't limping or anything, but it was definitely not feeling good. So I checked his foot, and yep, it was bleeding again, where the hole was in his foot. And so took him home right away. Tried carrying him, but he didn't like that. He's like, put me down. I don't want to be carried around. It's very embarrassing. So got him home as quick as we could. But yeah, we've had let's put this here. Yeah, but yeah, so he had a pretty full day. Hurt himself in the morning, spent a couple hours outside sniffing and enjoying the the cloudy weather, and then it's a little bit stressful walk, and then you know, rest of the evening's been pretty chill. But hopefully it'll be better by tomorrow. We're gonna go see cousins tomorrow night, so I might have to leave him behind just because their dog likes to play, and he's really big. Bosch is very small. I worry about them, somebody getting upset by accident, by too much roughhousing. But let's put something maybe more interesting over here. Yeah, so I think we'll see how he's feeling in the morning. If he's feeling good on the the morning WALK, then we'll take him. If not, then I'll leave him here. Give us some interesting points of depth here with this and that. So, but we'll see how, if he doesn't bleed in the morning, if it's all better by then maybe we'll take him. You wake up there, buddy? You have a good dream? So yeah, so we'll see. He'll live. It's not, doesn't like being left behind, but Looking forward to next fall though. I'm only allowed to teach a certain number of classes, and so in the fall, I'm only gonna have one class, and so I've got it all day on Friday, so I just have one day of teaching. I think the idea for me was basically being able to, do more camping and painting in my truck. So, in the fall weather. Instead of going out for 4 days at a time, I can go out for like 6 days. So I could leave Friday afternoon, get on site and spend a whole week on location. Um, so we'll see. Probably should make sure he doesn't jump into bed tonight, though. I pick him up, put him there. So, keep an eye on it. Good, even people popping in. Move over there and cool off. Yeah. Poor little dog. It's hard to believe he was born in 2016. So he's a little over 8 years old. Got plenty of energy though still. He's having a good time. Finally picked up a carpet for the hardwood floor downstairs, like a large kind of area carpet. Not very expensive or anything, but. And now he's like, oh, now I want to play because hardwood floors are slippery and those aren't any fun. So now that we have this carpet going on there, he's like, oh, now I want to play. A little tug of war, a little this, a little that. So. Yeah, me too. It's 10 o'clock, so I probably should call this a night on this. Maybe continue this tomorrow sometime. Or the day after, we'll see. I'm trying to get back to more of a regular schedule. I had a lot of distractions this semester. You know, the extra class, etc. Oh yeah, I need to get back to exercising. Right, I was doing really great, and then I got sick, really sick for like a week. Kind of threw me off my whole game. Doing so good, and everything ended, and I died, or I just got lazy. One of those two. It's doing so good. Oh, they're on Twitch. Oh, we got a spammer. Never mind. Twitch. Yeah. Um, well, I'm not sick now. It's been a while, but I got really sick. Shaked like I think 3 times this semester so far. So early on, I think just before school started, and then there was like a couple weeks into it, which is pretty typical. You know, people go away for vacation, come home, and bring all of their diseases with them to class. And then there was one other time. That was pretty nasty. I think I canceled a day of class. I was just completely out of it. Um, I feel like I've got like one last hurdle to overcome in my proposal for this illustration concentration. Well, two of them, but one of them is like more important, I think, than the other. And department head's like, well, I think we should do this other thing. And I'm like, well, maybe. But at the same time, like, he's really not that interested in illustration as far as I can tell. So, you know, let me make the decision. And ourselves a little close up here. Let's see how that goes. I think I'm going to call it there for tonight, though. And see how it works out in tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow afternoon, a little bit. But thanks to everybody that came in. Appreciate it. And we'll talk to you all later.